looked at your life and wondered, how did I get here? Like somewhere along the way, pieces of you went missing. And now all that's left is a version of you that smiles in public but silently aches in private. What if I told you you're not broken? What if I told you you're becoming? There were days I thought I had shattered beyond repair. Days where I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. Her eyes were weary from the weight of unspoken pain. Her smile rehearsed like a performance. Her spirit dimmed from all the stretching and surviving. I would dress up my dysfunction in pretty things, good intentions, polite conversation, staying busy, but the truth was I was bleeding on the inside, not from one big wound, but 1,000 little cuts that life had given me. And for a while, I thought that made me broken. I thought broken meant unworthy, discarded, too far gone. But God has a way of reaching into the wreckage, not with shame, but with strategy. He doesn't call you broken. He calls you becoming. Becoming is messy. It's wild and holy and unpredictable. It'll ask you to let go of the narratives that gave you comfort but cost you freedom. It'll ask you to dig into the places where you buried your voice, your truth, your dreams. Becoming will break the agreement you made with survival and invite you to heal, really heal. Not pretend, not patch it up, not stuff it down, but lay it all out before God like shattered pottery and dare to believe He's not disgusted by your pieces. In fact, He is the only one who sees beauty in the fragments. He sees the blueprint, the brokenness. While you're mourning what fell apart, He's already molding what's coming together. You thought your tears were weakness, but they were actually water for the soil of your becoming. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every unanswered question was not the end. It was preparation. Because when God gets ready to elevate you, He doesn't just crown your head. He cleans your heart. He lets life expose what needs healing so that you're not performing purpose, but living it with authenticity. You can't build on a foundation that's cracked with people pleasing and fear. So He brings the shaking, not to destroy you, but to stabilize you. He reveals what you depended on that wasn't Him. And yes, it hurts. But healing always begins with truth. I know you've been in a season where it feels like nothing makes sense, where you've lost what you thought you'd never have to live without, where you're asking questions that make heaven feel silent. But baby girl, silence doesn't mean absence. God is doing His deepest work in the quiet places. The womb of transition is often silent. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. He's removing what you begged Him to bless because He sees what you don't. He's not after your comfort, He's after your calling. And sometimes calling means you have to walk away from what's familiar to step into what's divine. That relationship that ended, that door that closed, that plan that unraveled. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. You cried over a no because you didn't realize what you were carrying needed a different environment. Some things had to fall off because they couldn't come with you. Their presence was soothing your ego, but starving your soul. And God loves you too much to let you settle for a counterfeit version of wholeness. You weren't broken. You were being set free from patterns, from approval, from the need to explain yourself to people who never had the capacity to understand you. This isn't just about healing from what happened to you. It's about remembering who you were before life taught you to shrink. There's a version of you that's been waiting to rise. The one that knows her worth, that speaks with power, that walks in peace, that trusts her intuition because she knows it's been baptized in discernment. She's not arrogant, but she's not ashamed either. She doesn't beg to be chosen because she already knows she's appointed. That version of you isn't buried. She's becoming. She's stretching through the pain. She's finding her rhythm again. She's not performing for love. She's anchored in it, not chasing validation, but rooted in identity. I need you to know that healing is not linear. Some days you'll rise with fire in your spirit, and other days you'll crawl through grief with trembling hands. Both are sacred. Both are part of the process. Don't despise your pace. Don't measure your progress against someone else's timeline. Becoming isn't a competition. It's a covenant between you and God, between the pain that tried to bury you and the promise that said, not yet. You are still here, not by accident. Not because you got lucky, but because there's something in you that hell tried to destroy and couldn't. There's a glory in your survival story that's going to shake atmospheres when you tell it. There's a sound in your voice that will awaken women who've been sleepwalking through life. There's oil on your scars that only comes from intimacy with God in the dark. I don't know what the enemy used to convince you that your mess disqualified you, but I came to tell you, God does his best work with mess. He doesn't need a flawless past to build a powerful future. All he needs is your yes, yes to the process, yes to the stretching, yes to the uncomfortable but necessary boundary setting. Because, baby, you can't heal in the same place that wounded you. You can't rise in rooms that don't recognize you. Some tables you were begging to sit at were too small for the fullness of your becoming. That's not pride, that's revelation. And when you get revelation, you start moving different. You start honoring your no. You stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop waiting for closure and give yourself permission to heal without it. That's the real work, not revenge, not bitterness, not clapping back, but boundaries, clarity, peace. You start realizing that your energy is sacred and who you give access to is a reflection of what you believe about yourself. You start choosing alignment over attachment, growth over guilt, purpose over people pleasing. That's what becoming does. It elevates your standard, not because you think you're better than anybody, but because you finally know you're worthy. Not just worthy of love, but worthy of rest, of joy, of not always being the strong one, of letting God be your defender, of softening your heart without compromising your discernment, of not dimming your light just so someone else feels comfortable. You weren't made to shrink. You weren't made to apologize for your anointing. You weren't made to pretend you're okay just to keep the peace. You were made to walk in wholeness. And sometimes that means disappointing people who liked you better broken. But baby girl, if it costs you your healing, it's too expensive. You are not broken. You are becoming. And when you start becoming, you start remembering. You remember that little girl inside who always knew she was different. Not because she was damaged, but because she was destined. She felt everything deeply. She carried other people's pain in her chest like it was her own. She tried to be perfect, not for applause, but so no one would leave. She tried to fix what was never hers to carry because somewhere someone taught her that love had to be earned. But becoming will take you back to that girl, not to relieve the pain, but to reclaim the power, to pick her up from where she was dropped, to remind her she was never too much, just too rare for people who couldn't see her worth. This journey isn't about fixing who you were. It's about freeing who you are. Because when God starts to transform your life, he doesn't just change your habits. He heals your history. He speaks into the parts of you that never had language, never had validation, never had a safe place to fall apart. And he becomes that place. He becomes the whisper in the silence, the light in the dark, the balm for your soul. He begins to show you that becoming whole doesn't mean being without scars. It means being honest about them, showing them, owning them, letting them testify. You don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to pretend that everything's fine when your heart feels like it's barely holding on. God can handle your honesty. He's not afraid of your anger, your doubts, your disappointments. You can bring it all to him, unfiltered, unedited, unashamed. Because he's not looking for perfection. He's looking for surrender. And sometimes surrender looks like sobbing on the bathroom floor at TM saying, God, I don't know who I am without the pain. And even in that place, especially in that place, he whispers, you're still mine. You're still called. You're still becoming. You see, we live in a world that celebrates appearance and performance, but God honors truth. He honors the woman who dares to stand in her rawness and say, I'm not okay, but I'm still here. He honors the woman who leaves behind what no longer serves her healing. The one who grieves what she outgrew because she knows growth requires loss. The one who no longer romanticizes chaos just to avoid the quiet. Because when you've been in dysfunction long enough, peace can feel foreign. Stillness can feel scary. But don't confuse peace with punishment. Don't run from the silence. Lean into it. That silence is where God rebuilds your soul. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause, breathe, listen. Let God reintroduce you to yourself, because you are not the woman who was left. You are not the woman who failed. You are not the woman they labeled. You are the woman who endured. The woman who kept showing up. The woman who cried but still created, who broke but still believed. And that kind of woman carries weight. She carries oil. She carries glory, not because life has been easy, but because she let God meet her in the fire. And when you come out of that kind of fire, baby, you don't come out the same. You come out refined, clear, whole. It's not about going back to who you were before the pain. It's about rising into who you were always meant to be. a woman who trusts her voice, a woman who honors her no, a woman who no longer trades authenticity for acceptance, a woman who understands that boundaries are not barriers, they're bridges to peace. That being soft isn't weakness, it's strength restrained by wisdom, that you don't have to shrink to be seen. You don't have to abandon yourself to be loved, that your healing doesn't make you less spiritual, it makes you more whole. Because what good is a platform if your soul is still in pieces? The enemy wanted you to believe that your story disqualified you, that your past would be a prison. But what he didn't know is that God doesn't just rescue, he repurposes. He takes every wrong turn, every broken season, every unanswered prayer, and turns it into testimony. That failed relationship didn't ruin you, it revealed you. That season of isolation wasn't punishment, it was protection. God was hiding you, healing you, holding you. He was pruning the dead things that were blocking your bloom, because there's a garden in you, a promise in you. And what's coming from you is too sacred to be built on shaky ground. So if you feel like you're losing everything, maybe it's because God is clearing the space. Maybe he's making room for the woman you've always been. But life tried to silence. The one who doesn't just survive, but thrives. The one who doesn't just hope, she believes. The one who doesn't beg for crumbs because she knows her table is already set while yours empty. And hear me, you don't have to wait for someone to come save you. You're not powerless. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're becoming. And becoming means you start building again with integrity, with God as your architect. And sometimes that building starts with boundaries, with saying, I love you, but I choose me now, with walking away from what drains you and leaning into what heals you, with trusting that peace is a compass and discomfort is a teacher. Sometimes healing looks like being misunderstood, like people saying you've changed, and you have. You've evolved. You've outgrown survival mode. You've outgrown one-sided relationships. You've outgrown the version of you who used to settle. You've outgrown carrying everybody else's burdens while ignoring your own. And that doesn't make you selfish. It makes you healthy. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to say, and that no longer fits who I am. Because becoming is not about staying consistent with who you were. It's about staying obedient to who God is calling you to be. And the call on your life is heavy. That's why the stretching hurts. That's why the pruning feels like loss. That's why you've been so uncomfortable, because God is expanding your capacity, making room for the purpose, the power, the influence you didn't even know was in you. And yes, it's scary, but baby girl, it's holy too. There's a version of you on the other side of this becoming that is so healed, so whole, so rooted in God. She doesn't even flinch when the storm comes, not because she doesn't feel it, but because she knows who steadies her. She's not performing peace. She's living it. She's not striving for validation. She walks in authority. She's not pretending to be fearless. She just finally believes that even in fear, she can still move forward. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing God in the face of it. That woman is not some future fantasy. She's already inside of you. She's been whispering to you through every breakdown, every journal entry, every midnight prayer you didn't think reached heaven. She's been rising through your, I'm tired, through your, I can't do this, through your, Lord, help me. And slowly, piece by piece, God has been building her. You didn't notice because it didn't look like a miracle. It looked like discipline, like therapy, like walking away, like letting go, like resting, like choosing silence over shouting, like forgiving when they didn't apologize. That's the work of becoming, quiet, unsacred, unseen. It's easy to praise God when the doors open, when the blessings fall. But there's a deeper worship, the kind that comes when nothing makes sense and you still choose him. When your hands are trembling, but you lift them anyway. When your heart is breaking, but you still declare he is good. That's when heaven leans in. That's when chains break. That's when you realize becoming isn't about being celebrated. It's about being consecrated, set apart, marked by fire, covered in oil. Because when God anoints you, he doesn't ask for permission. He doesn't need popular opinion. He doesn't need them to understand. He doesn't need the resume or the qualifications. He looks for the woman who said yes in the wilderness, the one who walked through the fire and didn't curse him, the one who kept showing up not for claps, but because she couldn't unknow the call on her life. That kind of woman, she's unstoppable, not because she's perfect, but because she's yielded. And let me tell you, When you get yielded, everything changes. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop begging and start discerning. You stop trying to prove yourself and start protecting your peace. You become a steward of your own soul. You ask better questions. Not, how can I get them to like me? Does this align with who God says I am? You stop making excuses for your brilliance. You stop shrinking for fragile ego. You stop explaining your boundaries to people who benefit from you having known. You become bold, not loud. Bold in grace. Bold in vision. Bold in healing. You speak truth, not to hurt, but to free. You show up with softness, not weakness. You walk with elegance because you've learned the cost of chaos. You smile without pretending. You forgive without returning. You love without losing yourself. And that woman, the one who's been to hell and back and still chooses light, she is the evidence, the proof that becoming was never about perfection, but resurrection. God is not rebuilding you into who you were. He's resurrecting the woman you buried, the one who loved freely, the one who dreamed loudly, the one who believed that she could until life told her she couldn't. He's bringing her back, not to repeat the same mistakes, but to redeem them, not to prove your worth, but to walk in it, not to show them who you are, but to remember it for yourself. You are not broken. You were breaking open. So let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them question how you made it through what should have destroyed you. You don't owe them an explanation. You owe God your obedience. Keep rising. Keep healing. Keep saying yes. Because your yes is unlocking doors you can't see yet. Your yes is making demons tremble. Your yes is sending generational curses to the grave. Your yes is changing your bloodline. And when you start becoming, you stop settling. You stop letting history define your destiny. You stop letting trauma hold the pen to your story. You stop measuring your worth by who stays or who claps. You finally realize that if it costs your peace, it's too expensive. That if you have to betray yourself to keep it, it's not God. That the version of you they loved was not the full you. It was the performing you. And that version she's done. She served her purpose. She helped you survive. But now it's time to thrive. This season isn't about proving anything. It's about aligning with truth, with healing, with heaven. This is about making peace with the parts of your story that still sting and declaring, even this will be used. Because nothing is wasted in the hands of a redeemer. Not the tears, not the years, not the things that didn't go the way you prayed. There's glory in the gaps. Yeah. There's purposes in the pods planned for you. It hasn't changed. So rise with trembling hands if you must, with fresh boundaries, with new eyes, with sacred boldness. You're not who you used to be. And that's the miracle. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt by the Master's hand. Every scar is sacred, every lesson holy, every stretch divine. You're becoming fully, freely, finally. And when you finally see yourself the way heaven sees you, radiant, resilient, restored, you'll understand why the warfare was so heavy, why the losses hurt so deep, why the waiting felt so long. It wasn't because you were forgotten. It was because you were being formed. You are not broken, beautiful soul. You are becoming.